Okay, so I'm going to do a quick screen share so everybody can see. Okay, so can everybody see that PowerPoint presentation there? Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is, as I said, the diagnostic ultrasound new student advising session. So thanks for joining us today. And we just want to welcome you to Seattle University and the College of Nursing and the Diagnostic Ultrasound program. We're super happy that you've decided to attend Seattle University as part of your academic journey to be a sonographer. So we're super happy to have you here. We're going to go through a couple of introductions with the team here, and then we'll go through some introductions here on the slide. So you'll see our names here on the slide as well. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Rhonda Mitchell. I'm one of the academic advisors within the College of Nursing. I advise the BSN or the nursing transfer students, and then also the diagnostic ultrasound transfer students as well. And so then I'll turn it over to Terry if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, hi, I'm Terry Reed. I'm the acting program director for the diagnostic ultrasound program. I teach a multitude of classes. Majority of them are cardiac, but also teach some of the general ultrasound classes also. I do also do some advising, and I'm kind of thrilled to meet the sonographers of tomorrow. So looking forward to working with you all.
Yeah. Robel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My name is Rebel Kamat, and I sent you all an email, I believe, like Friday, just introducing myself. And I'll be your person, your academic person. And my work it was primarily with the BSN students, but I will be working closely with you all. I'm helping you get familiar with the program, and this will be my first year advising. Period, and especially with DIUS, so I'll be learning along with you.
Yeah, so we're super happy to have Robel as part of the team and help her transition into advising. Okay, so we'll run through some introductions there on the screen just to get you familiar with some of the other names within the College of Nursing that you might work with or need to be familiar with. So Kristen Swanson is our dean for the College of Nursing. So she's the dean for both the diagnostic ultrasound and the BSN program, because both programs are part of the College of Nursing. And then Danuta Voinar is our associate dean for the academic affairs. And then you've met Terry Reed. The other person that you'll work with pretty closely is Maret Aziz. She is the clinical coordinator for the diagnostic ultrasound, and she does a lot of the clinical placements and does some support of students within the program, and she does a variety of things. So you'll probably work with her a bit as well. And you've already met Robel and myself and Terry. So the other person that you may get some emails from is Maya Mosteller. She is our new program coordinator for the College of Nursing. There might be some emails that you might get on the behalf of like the associate dean that might come from Maya. So just recognize those as those might be important emails to look at and read, because we know you all get inundated with a lot of emails. So Maya is definitely one person that might be sending out a lot of information to you as well. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the advising model and how that works within the College of Nursing and the diagnostic ultrasound. So you'll be working with professional advisors and then faculty advisors. And the professional advisors are like myself and Robel, where we know a lot about higher ed. We work in higher ed, we know policies, processes, but we haven't worked in the healthcare field and we haven't worked in the diagnostic ultrasound field. So that's where we're here to help you transition into SU, sort of get familiar with how to use all of the programs, how to find information, forms, and sort of onboard to SU. And then as you get a little further into your program, you'll transition over to a faculty advisor. And we're currently restructuring when students are going to get assigned to faculty advisors. So you'll just watch for more information during your freshman year as we determine what that structure is going to look like as you go through the program and when you will be transitioned over to your faculty advisor. Okay, the one thing to note is that you will be required to meet with your advisor every quarter for what's called quarterly planning advising meetings. And so that is to help make sure that you know what classes you're going to register for. You are registering for the correct classes, the correct sections as you get a little further into your program. And so those are going to be required quarterly advising meetings. Now you can certainly, and we encourage you, if you have the need, to meet with your academic advisor more than that quarterly meeting, right? That one quarterly meeting. Advisors are available if you're having some challenges, if you just have concerns, if you just have general questions, you don't know what to do, you're not sure where to find something, not sure about resources, right? That's where you would go to your academic advisor with those questions, and we'll help you find some of those resources that might be available. I think the advisor notification email, I think all of the assigning of students has already been done. I think you've already gotten that. So I think we're all set on that part. So what are advising sessions going to look like? So advising sessions are going to be where you're going to do some of the educational planning. You're going to work with your advisor to map out all of your program of study, talk about what classes you're going to take each quarter, talk about issues that may come up. You're going to talk about course selection. With your professional advisor, like with Robel for your freshman year, career discernment may not be something that you may be talking about with Robel at this time. That might be where you might meet with the diagnostic ultrasound faculty or schedule a time to meet with them to maybe have some of those conversations early, since we're kind of, that career discernment would really come more from the ultrasound technicians or the sonographers that are instructors as well. However, Robel and Terry, myself, all of the advisors within the College of Nursing are here to help support you with any changes and challenges that come up during your time in the program. So we know that when you start classes, life outside does not stop. Life events still happen, life is still going on, and there could be challenges and changes that come up that might be impactful to you as a student. So it might mean maybe you're not able to finish a quarter, or you're concerned about maybe not being able to finish a quarter. Or maybe you didn't do as well in a class that you as you thought you might. So maybe you need to retake that class. Then you would talk with your advisor about what does your plan of study look like? What does that mean for you as you transition through the program? It might be you were up skiing and maybe you broke your leg. So what does that look like for you? What are some things that you're going to need to do to finish out the quarter successfully, and how can we support you in that? So there can be lots of different life events and challenges that can come up. So we encourage you to talk to your faculty, number one, as soon as you know about those challenges and changes that have come up for you in your life. And then also making sure that you're looping in your academic advisor so that we can help support you with additional resources as well. Okay, so connecting to resources, as I mentioned, that's kind of what we do. We're here to sort of help you connect you to all of those resources that you're aware of and maybe those that you're not aware of that you might need as you transition through each quarter. So again, might be challenges, changes, you might have questions, how to find a form. That's where we're here to help support you to find those resources. Maybe you need tutoring and you don't know how to find a tutor. Maybe you are interested in using disability support services, but you're not sure how to get that started, or what does the time frame look like. That's where you'll meet with your academic advisor as well. Okay, so advisee responsibilities. Your number one responsibility is please check your SU email. So this was your student issued SU email. Hopefully you have all gotten that set up. If not, please reach out to Robel so we can connect you with our ITS services to help you troubleshoot getting logged into that email. That email is the official communication from your advisor. So we're required to email you to that SU email as you transition closer to the fall quarter. And all communications from the university go to that SU email. So it's really important that you check that SU email daily, particularly as you get a little closer to the fall quarter starting and during each quarter. Being accountable, right? This is going to be your experience, and you're going to make this experience over the next 4 years. We're here to help support you through that and to help make that an enjoyable and successful experience for you, but you have your part as well, right? So definitely reaching out to us and being accountable to that experience as much as you can. And then meeting regularly with your advisor. Again, there's the required visits, but then you can always meet with us more frequently if needed. Knowing your degree requirements, we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit in the presentation, and then also knowing the rules, which are policies, processes, deadlines, and things like that that are in the College of Nursing handbook. And you can find that handbook if you go to seattleu.edu And then if you go to the College of Nursing page on the right-hand side, there's a link for the College of Nursing handbook, and you can find all the diagnostic ultrasound rules, policies, procedures in that handbook. Okay, so one thing that's new for this fall is we are starting a new curriculum. And so as you're coming into the program, where we traditionally had 2 tracks that students would take classes for, we now have 3. And you'll get more information as you go through the program and get ready to start those diagnostic ultrasound classes in your 3rd year. But the 3 tracks that we are going to be offering are the vascular sonography, the general sonography, and the cardiac sonography. And again, you'll get lots more information about what each of those are and your areas of interest and things like that as you go through the program. Okay, so this is our 4-year plan of study. I'm not going to go through all of these in specific. We're just really going to focus on the first couple of quarters, and then you'll meet with your advisor as you go through the rest of the program. But a few key things that we want to point out here. You're going to be taking classes over the next 4 years as you complete the program. Your first year, your freshman year, you're going to have your math 1021, and then chemistry, the lecture class in the lab, and then a UCOR class. And then you're going to see you've got the math 1022, your biology, and a UCOR. And then in the spring, you've got 3 UCORs. And then you're going to have more classes in your sophomore year. And then in your junior years, where you're going to start that ultrasound track. And you can see it's predominantly ultrasound classes that you're going to take with a UCOR and some nursing classes kind of sprinkled in there. The key thing to think about with this, or to notice with this, is these bolded classes are your diagnostic ultrasound prereqs. So these are some classes that we're going to talk about a little more on the next slide, but these are the prerequisite classes that you have to pass to be able to go forward into the next level. So you have to pass algebra before you can go on to trig, right? And some of these classes are not offered every quarter, so that's where you'll work with your advisor. If it looks like you may have something going on that you may not pass your class. So talk with your advisor as early as you can so that we can have that conversation. So the bolded classes, again, are those prerequisites. You've got those UCOR classes, and we'll talk more about those in a minute. And then you can see that you've got a couple of nursing classes in there. And then the rest of these are all those DIUS or diagnostic ultrasound major classes. Okay, so what does all of that mean, and what do we do with all of that? So all of those classes that we talked about, your prereqs, your UCORs, your diagnostic ultrasound classes, your nursing classes, those are all going to be tracked and going to make up your cumulative GPA. So as you start taking classes at Seattle University, particularly in the College of Nursing, we track 2 levels of GPA. We track the cumulative, which, as you can see with the funnel, is all of the classes that you're going to take during your time in the program. Then we track your major GPA, and that's going to be those prerequisite classes that were bolded, your diagnostic ultrasound classes, and then those nursing classes. Okay, and those are the only classes that are going to count towards that major GPA count. And again, that's something that you'll work each quarter with your advisor to figure out, like, what is my cumulative, what is my major, and what all is factored into that. But this is just a general overview. One thing to note is that all students in the program must earn a C or higher in the prerequisite classes, so those bolded classes, the nursing classes, and the diagnostic ultrasound classes. A C- is not a passing grade in those 3 categories, okay? So that's where you have to have that C or higher to be able to go on and transition to the next level or the next level of classes. So what are those UCOR classes? The UCOR classes are university core classes that are required as part of the Jesuit liberal arts degree programs, and they're going to be required for every student. And we'll talk more specifically about each of those in just a minute, but they're basically going to round out your Jesuit education, and they're going to assist you in becoming strong interdisciplinary thinkers. And then they're also going to help you develop those critical thinking skills that are going to help you analyze information throughout the program. They're also going to help you become a reflective person and an engaged whole person, right, as part of the mission for the College of Nursing, and we engage and educate students to become leaders for a just and humane world. So our UCORE classes are taken in modules. We have module 1s, which are your 1,000 level classes. And then we have module 2s, which are your 2,000 level classes. And then we have module 3s, which are your 3,000 level classes. And you can see there's a couple of notes there. The 2,000 level classes must be taken at SU as part of your degree program. So there's no transfer credits that can come in to satisfy those requirements. And then same for the 3,000 level classes, those are all required to be taken at SU as well. So your required 1,000 level classes are going to be the UCORE 1100, which is the academic writing seminar or like an English class. Your UCORE 1300, which is a creative expression and interpretation. So that's like a hands-on art class or a creative writing class. So there's a lot of different topics and types of classes that you can take for that requirement. There's UCORE 1400, which is Inquiry Seminar in the Humanities, and then UCORE 1600, which is the Inquiry Seminar in Social Sciences. These types of classes can be satisfied with AP or IB test scores or transfer credit if you happen to have some community college credits that you've taken that you can transfer in. The 2,000 level classes you're going to take are the UCORE 2100, which is the Theological Exploration, the UCORE 2500, which is Philosophy of the Human Person, and then you're going to have the UCORE 2900 or 2920, the Ethical Reasoning or Ethical Reasoning in Healthcare. With the Diagnostic Ultrasound program, you can take either one of those classes to fulfill that requirement. But just note that your UCORE 2500 is the prerequisite for both of those. So you have to take that UCORE 2500 before you can take the 2900 or 2920. And again, these three classes must be taken at Seattle University and cannot be satisfied with transfer credit. All right, your 3,000 level classes. You have UCORE 3100, which is Religion in a Global Context, UCORE 3400, which is Humanities and Global Challenges, and then the UCORE 3600, which is the Social Science and Global Challenges. These also must be taken at SU and cannot be used, cannot have transfer credit brought in. Okay, so your prerequisite classes, and we're just going to go through these quickly because you can also see those on the program of study. But you've got that Math 1021, which is the pre-calc algebra, the Chem 1500, which is the general chemistry, and then the 1501, which is the lab that goes with it. And then you're going to have the Math 1022, which is the pre-calc trig, and then you're going to have the general biology, and then the general biology lab, and then the Physics 1050, which is mechanics, and then the mechanics lab. And then you're going to have Physics 1060, which is the waves, sound, electricity, and magnetism, as well as the lab, which is Physics 1061. And then you're going to have Biology 2200, which is Anatomy and Physiology 1 with the lab. And then Biology 2210, which is Anatomy and Physiology 2 with the lab. So those are the prereq classes. And again, those are the classes that you have to pass successfully to be able to go into your diagnostic ultrasound classes in your junior year. And these are also classes that can be satisfied with AP or IB test scores or possible transfer credit if you have them. Okay, and then the other category of classes which we looked at on those funnels are your nursing classes. So you're going to have the healthcare in the 21st century and pathophysiology. And then for your diagnostic ultrasound track classes, depending on what track you're going to take, you would take your vascular sonography and lab, your cardiac sonography and lab, or your general sonography and lab. You won't take all three of these. You will take whichever class or whichever track you're on. You'll take that class and lab each quarter. Okay, so how do you track all of that information? How do you know what to take? How do you know what's been completed? How do you know if you have transfer credit brought in, if your AP scores were brought in? Where do you find and keep track of all that? Well, at Seattle University, we call that section or that part of our program, the program evaluation. So that's like our degree audit system. And that's where you're going to track the courses that you need, and you're going to look and see, like those module 1 classes are pretty common for some students to have AP or IB test scores or transfer credit for. And once you get those official transcripts submitted to your admissions counselor and they get that processed, you'll see those show up in your program evaluation as completed requirements. But you'll also be able to see those requirements that are still needed. You can also track your cumulative and your major GPA in the program evaluation. So how do you find that? So hopefully you've all been able to log into your My Seattle U portal and have gotten pretty well versed in that. If you've logged in there and you're familiar with it, hopefully you've checked out some of the buttons, but in the screenshot, Once you sign in, you're going to click on student planning. And when you click onto that button, it is then going to take you into a screen that looks like this. And then here's where you're going to click on the link that says go to my program evaluation. And then it'll take you into your program evaluation. You're going to be able to see your degree. You'll see some little progress bars, and then you'll see all the degree requirements listed below. And then you'll work with your advisor to figure out like what classes are going to be taken each quarter and how you're going to follow that program of study. So I would say definitely get in and search around in there, kind of be familiar with that, because you can use that program evaluation as a way to also do the class search, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Okay, so as you saw, for most students coming in with no AP scores, no IB scores, no transfer credit, hopefully you have taken the math placement exam and you know if you're ready to go into, or you've placed into the Math 1021 pre-calc algebra, and also ready to take your general chemistry class with the lab, and then your UCORE Module 1. Now, if you have AP or IP test scores or transfer credit for like UCORE 1100, that's the most common one that students would take in this first quarter. If you have something that exempts you from that, you have credit for that. That's where you work with your advisor and your admissions counselor to get that credit brought in so it shows as a satisfied requirement. And then you can look at the other UCORE classes that you can add into that quarter. So that has a little bit of flexibility. Depending on what classes you've got, if you've got anything that you're bringing in to satisfy those credits. And then you'll work with your assigned advisor to work out optional classes for your schedule if you have some of those requirements already met. Okay, so how do you find that schedule? So again, you're going to go into My Seattle U and click on that student planning button. But instead of clicking on the first button where it says go to program evaluation, you're going to click on go to plan and schedule. And so from there, you're going to go into a screen, and I'll show you that in just a second. You can also just do the class search right from this screen. It does have the class search up here. But if you go to the plan and schedule, you're going to log in. This is a small snippet of the screen that you'll see when you go into that plan and schedule. There's a lot more underneath, but this top part is where it'll be on the top right is this class search button. And you can enter in, say you want to look for Math 1021. So you're going to type in Math 1021 up here in the class search bar. On the next screen, there's going to be a lot of different subcategories, but one of them will be terms for that section. And then you're going to select Fall Quarter 2022. And then you'll see the class show up on the right. And then underneath the course details is a link that says view available sections for Math 1021 or whatever course you're searching for. So when you click that, it's going to open it up, and then you're going to see all the sections and the open seats or the seats that are available. And then over to the right again is an add section to schedule. Okay, and that will add that section to your schedule so that you can register. So one thing to note is when you go through these steps, right now you're only planning your classes. You're not actually registering for your classes at this time. You're adding them to your planning tool so that they're in one area so that you can register for those when registration opens for you next week. Okay, so next steps. You're going to attend a registration session. Your registration, since you're not registering today, this is just the advising to get you ready for registration. Your registration session is scheduled for July 18th at 1:30. And so there will be a brief little presentation of reviewing the steps that we just went through with a little bit more detail, because right now there's a lot that's not really relevant. So at that time, when you're ready to register, there will be more information, and you're going to have more things will be open in your planning tool so that you can register for classes at that time. Your new student hold will be lifted. All of that stuff will be in place for you to start registering for your classes. Classes are mostly back in person, right? So just know that you will be in person for almost all of your classes as you're starting this fall. But there are some times where COVID protocols might be in place, whether that's maybe you as a student have been exposed or are feeling ill, if you've been exposed to COVID or tested positive, or maybe your instructor is tested positive or maybe isn't feeling well, and then they'll work with you on what that's going to look like. So that's why it's going to be really important that you reach out to your faculty as soon as you have anything that might keep you from attending a class. Always reach out to your faculty as soon as you know you may not make it to a class. All right, and just a little note that COVID vaccinations are required for all students attending Seattle University. Okay, so that is the advising session. So now is the time when we open it up to questions from all of you. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? You can type them in the chat, or you can also just, you know, blurt them out here, and we can address any questions as they come up.
I have a
Anybody?
question. So my transcript from community college hasn't been sent to Seattle U yet, and I'm working with them to try to get it sent sooner. Should I try to get that to Seattle U before the registration, whatever it is, the registration group session, or is it okay if it comes later?
It's okay if it comes later. I mean, you can work with your admissions counselor, but actually, let me back up a second. Have you taken the math placement exam?
I have taken the math placement exam.
Okay, so one thing to note that I didn't mention is if you took the math placement exam and you have credit or something that places you into the math 1021 or 1022, that whatever is higher, whether it's your math placement score or maybe that AP score or your IB score, whatever will let you get into that math class is what we'll use. So don't worry, like if you did the math placement score and you didn't do as well, but you know you have like an AP score, you took a class, just know that that will come in as credit for those. But that's where you'll work with the admissions advisors for that. You probably won't be able to register for some of the math classes until those are in. So
Okay.
you may not be able to register for all classes until some of those transcripts are in.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so Madeline has a question. Yeah.
Oh, I'll
Go
let
ahead.
her go first.
Oh, it was typed in the chat. So it was just, do
Okay.
we email our advisors to schedule a personal meeting with them? Yes, if you want to schedule a personal meeting, you can email the advisor, and then they'll schedule that with you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I had a question about AP scores and how we send them over. Do you know where, like, what exact email we can send it over, or which office I can send it to be exact?
Yeah. So if you can get a copy of your official transcript, so like if you go into wherever the website is that you go in to get the scores, it should have a way for you to request an official transcript. And when you do that, it'll have a section in there where you can choose what school you want it to go to. And then you'll just select Seattle University, and it'll automatically fill with the email address and the physical address that it should send to. If it doesn't have any of that in there and you're not sure where it should go to, just have it go to the registrar's office, or have it emailed to your admissions counselor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have a question in the chat. It says, does it matter the order of level 1000 UCORE classes we sign up for? It really does not matter. You can take UCORE 1100, UCORE 1300, 1400, or 1600 in the fall quarter. We recommend that you do the 1100 if you don't have credit, like AP scores or transfer credit for that, just because that is an English class, it's a writing class, and it's going to help you have stronger skills as you go into some of those more complex classes as you go through your program. But no, you do not have to absolutely take them in that numerical order. Great. Any other questions? Terry, do you have anything that you want to add that I maybe missed or didn't, that you want to fill in a little bit more?
Oh, not a lot. I mean, the key thing is to take biology 1610 and chem 1500 in either fall or winter quarter, because they're not offered in spring. So that's just something to remember. In terms of the program itself, and like choosing a track, you don't really have to do that until probably sometime in winter quarter, sophomore year. how do I choose a track? I don't know. You could do internet searches, talk to the DIS faculty. We're going to have labs in all 3 tracks all year long, essentially. So just let us know, email us, and shadow a lab for 1 or 2 hours or something like that too. That's all the instructors are fine with that. So that's a good way to see if this is going to be, this track is something you like or something you really don't like. Gosh, I don't know, you covered things quite thoroughly there, Rhonda.
Okay.
I'm just trying to,
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Looks like Madeline posted a question in the chat. This is more unrelated for registering for classes, but is there an exam that we have to take for licensing like nursing majors have to do? Yeah, Terry, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's no state licensure for diagnostic ultrasound at the moment, but there is a national registry, and upon graduation, you'll be eligible to take the specialty in your tracks. In fact, you can actually do that halfway through the last quarter of senior year. So you can actually pass your boards essentially before you even graduate, which looks a lot better to employers when you're applying for jobs.
Great. There is also, Terry, is there still the physics exam that they'll have to do in their junior year?
Yeah, that's essentially after you've had the 2 physics courses in junior year, then usually that summer, everyone takes the, actually is required to take the, the registry physics exam. The secret is you don't have to pass it at that time, but just take it. But essentially that's a prerequisite for getting certificates in your chosen track or specialty kind of. You have to pass physics to even be able to take those.
Great, thanks, Terry. All right, does anybody have any other questions? Oh, okay, so Robel, it looks like one of the students emailed you and was just wondering if you got that email.
I'll have to take a look. I'm sorry. It's been really busy because I just came back from vacation. I'm trying to catch up on my inbox. So thanks for your patience.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. Okay, any other questions? Has everybody signed up or been able to sign up for the registration session that is next week? Thumbs up, yeah. Okay, if not, please email myself or Robel and just let us know if you're having a difficult time registering for that. I will be gone starting Wednesday afternoon, so definitely it might work to email Robel if you're having some trouble later in the week. But I will post my email there in the chat. Okay, so there's my email. Robel, do you want to put your email in the chat?
Absolutely. I'll do that right now.
Super, thanks. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? No burning questions?
I have one more question.
Sure.
For next week, registration starts on the 18th at 11 p.m., right?
So your registration session is when you'll be able to register for classes. And so that's going to be at 1:30. So that's when the registration will actually happen. You'll be registering live in that session with the folks that are there facilitating that session.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, any other questions? If not, like I said, that's the advising session. You're free to go if you don't have any other questions. We'll just hang out here for a few more minutes in case anybody does have any other questions. But otherwise, have a great afternoon, and we will see you next week.
Hello, I had one more question for registration before the session. So my academic planning has to be done before that, correct? Just so I know which classes I can register for.
You don't have to have your classes planned in there. Really, I just go through that so that students can kind of see it for the first time. And then when you see it again, because we'll give the similar information, just the registration information at the next session,
Okay.
just as a refresher. But it's good to just go in and start looking at the classes and doing the class search and kind of seeing what's available, what still has seats, and getting familiar with that part of that before you do registration is a really good idea.
Mhm.
So you can add the classes to your plan, or you can just do the class search and get familiar, and you can write it on a piece of paper, and then you can do the planning at the registration session when you register as well.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I just completed my degree at WVC, and I know that
Okay.
some math credits transfer over, but not some of the English courses. So I'm just wondering which ones are transferable and which ones are not. So I know I still need to do the academic planning and transferring of credits. So yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so definitely work closely with your admissions counselor to do that, because we don't have we don't handle any part of that process as far as the incoming transcripts or credits. That all comes through the admissions counselor that you're working with, and then they work with the evaluators to evaluate
Okay.
the classes and see what's going to come in and what won't come in.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
great. Great
All right.
questions.
I think that's everything.
Okay, perfect. Well, definitely reach out to Robel or myself if anything else does come up between now and registration session next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.